long. Picks and bans. Vamonos. Black Dragons versus ISURUS. We've got BD on the left-hand side. Cabrakan will be the first ban out of Black Dragons.
Can always appreciate a good Cabrakan ban. Like we've noticed with these teams, they do tend to lean a little bit more towards that NA meta of early aggression. Yeah. So because of that, you kind of expect these early aggro gods like Cabrakan to just immediately be taken away.
Yeah, Cabrakan definitely very capable of getting early clear in either the mid lane or the solo lane with those tremors. You know, even if it gets interrupted, it's only down for 10 seconds, so it's straight back up again. You clear out that wave. As we see the Circuit taken away, I think Oship did play very well on that last time. You saw him exploiting lack of beads across the map. You saw him taking out the Ullr in the mid lane, so they're taking that away from him. That is kind of one of those solo carry gods, which I think he might excel at due to his proficiency in ranked.
I completely agree with you there. Black Dragon also, you know, with what Circuit was able to do, we took note of it as well. The time their gank so imperatively, Circuit wound up getting a kill onto a player when he had less than 10 seconds left on the beads. That's not a mistake. That's a last chance. Teams will do that. All right, the beads come up about 20 seconds. We've got one chance to try this gank. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, impeccably timed. You can tell that they are taking the timers, which is something which, you know, a lot of teams take a little while to adjust to. You know, when you're in these intense team fights and people are using beads, you might call them out and then you forget. Right. But something that's really, really important coming into high-level competitive is remembering those beads timers, writing them down in the chat, knowing exactly when they're back up so you can time your plays around them.
Well, Marcel's will get to play Ram as ISURUS banned it one more time. We're likely to see that ban the entire season. But Kernanos will make a showing. So in game number 1, we saw Kernanos not perform well, but
it's got to be the bots. It had to be the bots because that's exactly. I think Fragger even mentioned in his interview where he said we let them have the Kernanos because we wanted the bots. Yeah. And you can tell that ISURUS is a team that certainly values having that set up potential that Humbots can provide. Plus the CC, you can never really go wrong with his ultimate.
Fear No Evil is always been and always will be, unless it's drastically changed, one of the best ultimates in the entire game. Just the way that it can completely split up a team fight and a team is fantastic. What I like out of this go, though, with Fafnir and Hunbats here, is ISURUS. This is straight up Fragger just being confident in his own play skill. Yes, you can have the new guy, the overpowered, the aggressive, whatever you want to call him. You can go ahead and grab Kernanos. We're going to grab Fafnir and Hunbats, the team-oriented selections, and I'll beat you with whatever's left.
Well, you don't necessarily need the strongest hunter in order to go toe-to-toe with the Kernanos. What really matters, especially when you're drafting bots this early on, is the team composition. So as long as you pick a hunter such as Medusa or the Hu Yi, which we've seen him display already, you can't go wrong with that, really. It still meshes well with the team environment.
Yeah, speaking of the team environment, I really do like these picks coming out of Black Dragons here. I think the Terra ult here, you know, great against the Dot coming out of the Humbats and the Dot coming out of the Fafnir ult. And then Susanoo, you know, bringing early pressure. I think when you're against the Humbats in the jungle, it's really, really important to control that early game. Make sure he doesn't go into the mid-late game even. If he's that far, if he's even with you or ahead, you're going to lose. He's just an insane late game monster, Humbats. So I think it's really good to get the pressure out of the Susanoo and the ult from the Terra to help them deal with that.
I also really like how Susanoo can follow around the bots probably a little bit easier than what other junglers would be able to, especially since Circuit, another mobile jungler, has already been eliminated. The Susanoo is also going to have the interruption possibilities against the Fafnir should he opt to try and use his ultimate. Susanoo can try and drop his to deter any sort of follow-up.
The Bellona comes out from ISURUS here, likely in the solo lane. Very interesting selection, but I do like where it's going. Susanoo is a strong basic attack character, so that's one thought process at the very least. But the Bellona does kind of get in trouble from Susanoo. He can interrupt the bludgeon and all sorts of things. How do you like this selection here?
Yeah, I like Bellona. I think she's just a lane bully, is what you pick her for. She's going to give pressure, and because they've already picked that Hunbats, they're probably going to lack pressure in the mid lane. So picking up the Bellona there to almost guarantee pressure in that solo lane, unless they let something like an Osiris come through, is really, really good for them. And I think Bellona does do okay at surviving those Susanoo ganks, despite having her bludgeon interrupted by the two. She can ult away. She gets those protections when she's trying to run, and she's quite good at getting out.
So right now, halfway through the draft, we've got Fafnir support, Hunbats jungle, Bellona likely in that solo lane, Black Dragons, Kernanos, Susanoo jungle, and Terra in the support role. Well, solo lane is a little bit open, so a little bit of ambiguity. How would you rate this first half of the draft?
Realistically speaking, both of these top threes are very strong, either side. And what it's mostly going to boil down to, as far as team fights are concerned, is really just who gets the better engage or who gets the better counter engage. If either one of these teams slips up, there's more than enough potential for punishment.
Yeah, I think it's a bit crazy here. I feel like these top 3 picks that these teams have picked up are almost stronger than the bans that came through in the first banning phase, which is, you know, maybe it was the teams planning that. Maybe they're thinking, you know, we get these OP characters, we're going to perform better on them than the other side. They just believe in their own team ability to come through when they've got these characters that can hard carry.
I actually think this is a very interesting, if you're coaching or looking to play high level yourself, this is a very interesting picks and ban phase coming out. Rom is banned specifically against Marcel's. And then the Circuit ban comes out, and Black Dragon sees the Circuit ban come out, and so they kind of assume that maybe ISURUS want to play the Chang'e. I don't think we see the Chang'e ban unless we see the Circuit ban, and we don't see the Circuit ban unless we see the fantastic performance in game number 1. So there's a lot of intricacies going on here in the first page of bans that don't have to do with your tier list at home or things like that, which is always the most fun to really dive deep.
Yeah, absolutely. Target bans are a huge part of competitive SMITE. I mean, if you see a player who performs very well on a certain god in a game, you don't want to play against that guy, and you get rid of it. It doesn't matter if you're letting something, you know, that you consider better through. If that player is insane on this character, you want rid of it. I think O-Ship going on the Susanoo afterwards is kind of that same style of hyper carry jungler, where he can run around, he can get picks on his own. He doesn't really want to be a team fight jungler, more of a pick off jungler. So we'll see how that works out for them, then playing the same style once again, which they just lost with.
In round number 2 of the bans, Medusa and Hou-Yi are banned out by Black Dragon, understanding that Fragger has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting here for ISURUS, so obviously, again, target bans. Very important process. Usually see the target bans more so in this second phase than the first phase, but by banning out the 2 hunters, you're going to give Kha'Zix his signature Ra.
And we've seen his Ra already today. That was a pretty scary sight. So if I'm Black Dragon, I'm sweating a little bit right now. And I mean, the Ra still provides a sustain. You have the combination already with the bot's ultimate, and then the Fafnir, Hazer, you brought it up before, 2.5 seconds around of stun time. That's a long time to be stunned out, and Ra's type doesn't take very long to channel.
No, not at all. I think what will be interesting here is, you know, with the Terra and the Susanoo, and even the Kernanos, they have a lot of lockdown for these low mobility characters like Ra. So I think Kha'Zix is definitely going to have to play this really well, play really far back, and make sure he doesn't get caught out by a Terra stun or a Terra root losing his beads, doesn't let the Susanoo get on him in the backline. He'll really have to watch his positioning this game.
The Osiris and the Vulcan are going to make that even more complex. Osiris just providing a plethora of slows, and Vulcan going to be able to knock you up. Actually, I'm sitting here and yes, Kha'Zix is the Ra man. He is the Ra guy. Is this the wrong selection for Kha'Zix?
No, because he hits every snipe. He's incredible, man. I would give him it any time he wants it, you know?
Because this is what makes me love this game, is that I would never pick Ra into this composition.
No, nor would I.
But Kha'Zix can, and I think it just might work. Real quick, one word. Who takes this one?
I'm gonna give it to ISURUS with the momentum.
I want another game.
10 words.
Black.
Black Dragons, says my man Hazer. We'll see if we do wind up at a game 3 or if ISURUS takes it all from here. But take it away from us, it's Husey and it's Anatoly.
Thanks, Cobbo. We're going to look towards this game now, but looking at these team compositions, this Vulcan is something a little bit spicy, Toly.
Absolutely. The spicy meatballs are going to be coming out full force out of Non, and ISURUS Gaming, they're going to have to be careful with their positioning here. You know, they have these kind of immobile gods out of the Ra specifically that I'm looking at, which could be easy targets.
I mean, this Susanoo, we saw adapting play in the Direwolves vs Energy set, and really, really impactful. There's a lot of unexpected CC.
Absolutely. The mobility is just so powerful from this god. Still patch 4.6, so has the ability to proc those Hydra's Laments in between in-hands off of the Stormkata strikes.
And so, I mean, we saw adapting do just that, and it's so easy to pick off a mid laner. And, you know, Ochita was playing a Thoth, so he had some kind of an escape from this Susanoo. A Ra, though? Like,
a little suspect, you know, without the sustain off the bat, it's a little difficult to really survive against Susanoo, especially when he's going to pull you away from that heal anyway, and especially whenever you're going to have Osiris start rotating in the later stages of the game. Kliz is going to be looking to make his impact felt.
Talk to me a bit about this Vulcan pick. How do you see it really fitting in with Black Dragon's team comp?
It's about a huge burst potential, because surely O-Ship is going to dive the backline, look for that huge Typhoon knockup, and that Typhoon can easily set up that ultimate coming out of Non.
All right, bit of a standard start here from both teams, just kind of riding along with their waves, but I'm looking at Black Dragons now, and they're not actually going to this lane. They think they're going to lose this wave pressure against it on her, but they have a Kronos.
Yeah, it just seems that maybe they were worried about a potential solo lane gank opportunity here. You know, Osiris at level 1 is one of the strongest level 1s, especially flanking from the bottom hand side, as solo laners love to do so much. That's an opportunity that Black Dragons could have easily looked to exploit.
Well, all the previous games we've seen from ISURUS, they basically got their solo laner, wrapped them around behind the opposition, and picked up first blood in the mid lane, but this time Beltway starts in the solo lane.
Beltway starts in solo along with Kliz. The Bellona is able to out-clear the Osiris at level 1. The Bludgeon is a little bit too strong. You know, Osiris doesn't really have the same clearing capabilities. He's more of this kind of a lane bully, just to be able to out-trade you whenever his passive is available, and because of the poke exchange favoring the Osiris, that's when he's just going to be able to clear the wave using that Death's Toll off of the in-hands.
Looking back towards the Joy lane there for just a second, we actually saw a successful invade coming out from Daylon and Fragger. They picked up that purple buff. We can see Daylon's got it on him now, so a little bit of golden experience advantage for them there, and now they're going for the Oracle Harpies. Is Black Dragons to try and return some of that experience deficit.
A red buff onto Marcel's as well, so that's going to be interesting to see this matchup now that both Hunters will be picking up their red buff, but the fact of the matter is Black Dragons get back to the lane first, and every single time you clear the wave, this gives a slight window, whether it's 1 second or 6 seconds of just doing something, you know, maybe hiding in the jungle, maybe trying to steal away the purple small ogre minions, or maybe even fully committing just to be able to get that buff.
A lot of poke there onto the ISURUS duo lane from Marcel's, but you think they lose a lot of their wave clear here, but you got to remember, Terra with P-Bay with Terra is going to be able to make up for it a little bit.
You know, Terra level 1 is probably one of the worst Guardians you want in that duo lane because she has no clear, but once she gets level 2, she can dash through that monolith, turning the sustain into damage over time, and not only that, by striking through the monolith, you also gain an additional dash, so you're doing both dashes and the damage over time, so without Marcel's in-hands and or his ability, you still have P-Bay after level 2 clearing the wave.
Looking at the mid lane now, I think it's pretty fair to say that we reckon Ra's going to win this early push battle against the Vulcan. What has Nan going to be trying to do here in this early game, you know, kind of pre-level 5 and pre-level 10?
Just survive against Smite Taro. Just trying to put himself in a position where he'll follow up off of O-Ship. That's what most mid-mages tend to do. There's no more situations where you're left alone in mid. The good old glory days of the 2-1-2 meta where mid-mages were outplaying each other, and then you would see different styles trying to win that 1v1 exchanges. That no longer is the case in Season 4 Smite. It's more about holding hands by the jungle.
And look at this, Smitera rotating around. Level 5 is the Hun, but does he get the teleport in off the Sacred Monkey? No, he doesn't. But both junglers here over on the right-hand side, P-Bay's at the Fire Elementals as well, so a lot of pressure, a lot of prioritization onto the right-hand side.
And the fact that O-Ship is at about half mana gives Smitera that little bit of an edge, and if they can exchange abilities, eventually O-Ship is going to run out of resources to be able to continue that long fight haul.
Mid lane, 3 against 3 here, just clearing the wave. Again, we saw this last game, both teams pretty wary after kind of the initial clash of really committing too much early. Very, very careful and wary of each other. And we even saw last game, it came down to basically a single team fight, which decided the game.
You know, you look at North American, European teams, and you look at how they engage some of these mid encounters, and most of the time, it's around the 3.5 minute mark where they're looking for any sort of advantage they can get to transition into invading the buffs. But these teams between Brazil and Latin America, they're just allowing the enemy team to maybe play a little bit too aggressively, and then they can look for the invades. And I'm looking at the compositions here. You know, double sustain comp from ISURUS the last time around, still having enough of a powerful sustain on the side of Nazex, and I wouldn't be surprised with that long-range ability from Nazex and the sustain just to allow it to slowly build up to that mid to late game.
You're talking a little bit there about North American and European playstyle. We got to remember the winner of this game goes up in a very difficult quarterfinal match against Team Eager.
Eager is one of these teams that you just never know what to expect coming out of them. They're not afraid to scrim against multiple teams and multiple regions as well. Latin America North was one of their preferred regions to scrim against just because of the fact that there was a lot of teams in North America that almost scrim locked them, not wanting to play against Eager because of their quote-unquote cheese strategies that no other team runs.
Engagement here around the mid Harpies. Here comes the knockup from Oship, but Nozick beats it beautifully. Snipe comes through. Here's the Vulcan ultimate. Nan gets one, but Fraga gets the return onto P-Bay. Wild Hunt comes out, but Marcel's is going to clean up.
Daylon forced to jump over along with Fraga, but getting chased through the Jetstream. Storm Kata, though, the pull not on the mark. Not wanting to commit with that third strike, because then he would have no more escape, because that Jetstream was on cooldown. So overall, a 2-for-1 exchange. Black Dragons getting the better end of that one.
I really like that discipline from Oship, not wanting to commit and not wanting to give Fraga an extra kill, because we know how strong of a player that Fraga is, and he can easily carry this game, you know, keeping himself disciplined and keeping himself alive so he can follow up and get more of an advantage over SMITE. Very, very disciplined and smart play there from Oship.
And the ultimate coming out of Nan over the top from the mid lane. This is what this Vulcan player is all about, trying to really wait for that setup, wait for people to fully commit, being clumped up together, making that huge AoE ultimate a lot easier to land.
And he kept himself hidden as well, which I think is a little bit of a not very well known, you know, kind of Vulcan tip. You keep yourself hidden, you launch that ultimate, and it's very hard to get out of the Vulcan ultimate when you just see the targeter on the ground. You know, you do get a little bit of advance warning, but still, it's a nice little sneaky way to land that ultimate.
Just something as small as a tactical repositioning of your character between going down the line of sight versus hiding behind an obstacle is going to prevent people from seeing you actually use his ability, because, you know, every single god has some sort of cast animation, and Vulcan's is one of the loudest, one of the most telling tale signs. And just like that, jumping into the backline, Fraga, though, is going to be able to exchange ultimates, but a lot of damage being in return. P-Bay trying to save out his Hunter. Marcel's caught in an awkward spot, though.
Marcel's too low here to really try and re-engage onto Fraga. Fraga, he hits one impale and Marcel's is dead.
But I like the idea, because Fraga did have the red buff. It just now fizzled away, and not only that, he has the mobility, so he can look for these kinds of trades, and if he gets caught in a really bad spot, he could just walk away from Marcel's, no problem.
All right, 7 minutes in, 2-1, reads the kill counter. Nothing in this game, 700 experience, 600 gold, just barely in the favor of the Black Dragons after those first few kills in First Blood, but really, once again, we're seeing a very, very close game between these two. You
know, 1,200 experience just now going down to 900 for Black Dragons, trying to find some sort of edge, still waiting for that level 12 marker for those second relics. Looking for more of a trade here. Fraga, though, needs to be careful. He doesn't have the health advantage despite having the mobility side of things. Looking to reposition himself, trying to finish off that Transcendence, trying to catch up to the stacks that Marcel's has already built for himself.
Yeah, one advantage Marcel's has as well is that Shifter of Seasons. Kernanos' one ability. He can put lifesteal onto himself, or he can put damage, he can put a slow, or he can reduce protection. He's just such a versatile character.
Yeah, that's why Kernanos has been so heavily prioritized thus far, at least in the Masters. You know, it wasn't really available in the Gauntlet stages, so this is why Marcel's elects to go for this kind of god, and which is why we also see a different style of builds coming out of Kernanos, not having to commit to that lifesteal.
Oship forced away from the enemy red buff here, but here comes the Typhoon. Daylon knocked up, Earthshaker over the wall, Daylon in a lot of trouble.
Having to go into that draconic form, trying to jump away, but he gets turned into a boar! Just like that, dragon to boar.
I was wondering what he would turn back into after he died in boar form, whether it be the dragon or whether it would back be into the dwarf. Like, that's a crazy amount of interactions.
Imagine just giving a boar a bunch of dragon wings. Well, that's going to be a Gold Fury, though, on the side of Black Dragons, being able to capitalize just off of that one pick. A lot of people had to retreat under that double ultimate threat of the Typhoon into the Earthshaker, controlling just too much space on the side of Black Dragons. Now they get a little bit of a comfortable lead, sitting at about 2,000 advantage.
You were saying earlier that Nan just on this Vulcan just really needed to survive SMITE, but he's really been very proactive in helping out his team in these team fights.
Absolutely, just waiting for that right opportunity to throw out the Earth Shatters, being able to get in the right positioning here. His net worth is going to be the highest thus far in the game, and for a Vulcan to have this kind of a lead is now going to give himself a huge magical power spike advantage over the Raw. Raw is still waiting to try to finish off leveling off that sustain, and that's why Black Dragons are really trying to group up before that's going to be an issue later on.
What's the plan from here from ISURUS? Like, you know, they've found themselves a little bit behind, not too much, but, you know, what's their overall game plan?
Well, with Gold Fury still respawning in another 4 minutes, they're going to have the mindsets to try to wait it out, try to ward around the Gold Fury side, and then just spot Oship coming around the corner. The mobility from a Susanoo at every stage of the game is just going to be highly impactful, so as long as you see him coming, you're going to be able to make necessary adjustments.
10-minute mark has just been reached. Oship and Marcel is going to clear out this left lane a little bit, just farm up a little bit more. I'm looking around the map, looking at buffs and things like that, and it's relatively cleared at this stage, so both of these teams are going to be keeping those timers in mind, but now is kind of this time where you can look to get a little bit of pressure onto one of these lanes.
Marcel's was thinking about maybe pressuring that left side tower, but a good use of space control. Fragger throwing out the obelisk slows down not only gods, but also minions. Nice little job by Daylon, jumping over that wall, taking a little bit of poke, but the raw sustain is just sitting there waiting for him.
And we saw this out of ISURUS last game. The sustain was something they were really able to play around very, very well.
Absolutely. Still prioritizing the raw in the later stages of the draft, despite the Osiris that has been locked in actually afterwards. So that's something that there's a lot of confidence basically coming out of Nazex. You know, he's one of these guys that's willing to play these high bursty mage gods to be able to really get any sort of advantage.
Well, that's where he's made his name, isn't it? He's on the world stage playing that raw, you know, winning that game against Allegiant. So, I mean, it's no surprise that ISURUS are confident in him on this god.
But still really flexible enough to run the Uller in the last game. So a lot of flexibility with this mid laner coming out of Latin America, giving himself and his team that one game advantage.
Portal Demon here started up by the Black Dragons. In jumps SMITE. Fear No Evil is good. The Portal Demon falls to ISURUS. Typhoon comes through. SMITE taken very low, in a lot of trouble, and Oship picks up the kill.
Just like that, finding one, trying to retreat under the safety of the Monolith, though. Daylon was considering diving that backline with that Draconic form, but instead going back into the mid lane. Portal Demon securing 750 gold for ISURUS.
Daylon in a lot of trouble here. He's transformed into a pig. Marcel's picks up the kill. The snipe came out from Nozix, but not enough damage online there. Terra's Blessing used as well by Black Dragons, and now the Monolith heal coming through from them. This mid tower is looking mighty tasty.
You know, despite getting the objective, that 750 gold is nice and all, but if you're going to give up 2 kills, you're going to lose a lot more than just gaining that 750 gold. The respawn timers are quite a while here. Black Dragons secure themselves 500 gold and get a little bit of extra farm.
Red buff's down, so they're not going to be able to take that one away. Gold Fury and Oracle Harp is down as well, so, you know, while the tower does go down and a few kills go the way of Black Dragons, not the worst to ISURUS given the timings on things like objectives, but still, Black Dragon just slowly building up this lead more and more and more.
Very similar to how the last game started off. You know, both of these teams getting slow and steady advantages here and there, but not wanting to fully overcommit to any situation. But we're looking at Oship, and he's kind of been that all-star, at least in this game, you know, with a scoreline of 2-0-3, having 100% kill participation, you know, picking up the Sentry Ward and the regular ward, getting ready for that Gold Fury. And this is the time where the Susanoo is going to get a huge power spike. Sitting at level 13 with this Aegis Amulet, the Hydra's Lament's going to be doing a massive amount of damage.
We're talking about Oship and him being 2-0-3, as you said, 100% kill participation, and that's what we've really seen out of a lot of these higher level junglers, is the way that they influence the map is so key at the moment, at this stage of the meta, and Oship really doing that very, very well. Especially
considering that Black Dragons prioritized this pick very early in the draft. They first picked the Kernos, and then Susanoo was left open. Well, Oship's like, okay, I'm going to play this god. I'm going to try to set up my teammates any single way that I can, and it's been working out so really well for him so far. You know, not having that global presence compared to most gods, but having the mobility that P-Bay can provide you with the Terra's Blessing along with the passive from Susanoo, it's no surprise that there's just the mobility able from Oship to get from left to right.
Gold Fury has spawned in Black Dragons. It's got to be the objective they're thinking about doing next. Nan and Oship are around here. They're set up for this one. On the side of the solo lane, Kliz does have his teleport up, so this could be a good engagement for Black Dragons if they look to bait it out.
Having it to the 14-minute mark, neither team wanted to commit quite yet to this second Gold Fury. Just going to use their sustain options available to them if there's any sort of poke exchange. SMITE sitting about 50% mana. Oship at around 75%. Daylon versus P-Bay on the top left side, while
oh my goodness.
And SMITE, the Typhoon coming out doing a lot of damage. Fear No Evil defensively just in case of that knock-up into Earthshatter.
This is a huge win now for Black Dragons. They're starting up the Gold Fury. Let's take a listen into the Brazilian squad as they try and take this objective.
Eu sou nem o Rafa. Cuidado, pode ir. Tô indo. Não vai muito longe não. Continua. Boa, tem muito farm. Bom,
Vai pra esquerda, mano.
Vai na esquerda. Olha esse red. Vai lá.
O Rumor tá sem bits ainda. O Rumor tá sem bits ainda.
Vai nele, vai nele.
Eu vou ensinar. Gol.
Aí, ajuda dele.
Ele vai.
Vai pular. Ah, vai dar pra esquerda?
Cuidado, cuidado.
Vai esquerda, vai esquerda.
Great fight there out of Black Dragon, securing themselves gold here and a few kills as well. And now the left-hand side is left open for them.
Absolutely, especially with Honor getting poked out so heavily. Fragger having to jump over into safety after using that Aegis Amulet gives a tier 1 tower open for Marcel's potentially, but with everybody's respawn here on the side of ISURUS having to retreat, you might as well back and spend all that important gold in hand.
6-1 reads the kill counter, and looking at the gold as well, it's about a 3,500 advantage. ISURUS looking to get some damage down here onto the mid tower. They got the sustain from the Ra to make the siege a little bit effective, but they can't really hang around too long.
They have the aggressive ward at the speed buff. They spotted out Kliz rotating around the corner. They saw some people flooding down the mid lane from backing off, and without Marcel's committing to that tier 1 left tower, recognizing that he did back to base, if ISURUS overcommitted to that tier 1 mid tower, it would have been a full-on commit chase by Black Dragons using this mobility from O-Ship and P-Base Terra's Blessing.
Nan's picked up the ethereal stuff here, some health, some damage, and that nice little passive, as well as crowd control reduction. And it looks like Nosix is going a similar route. You know, is it mainly the health, or what's the big thing about this ethereal stuff that mid laners are really liking?
You know, every 10 seconds you get 5% increased magical damage based off of the target's max health. You know, it's not the true damage, but at the same time, it's just that little extra oomph. And considering the fact that Nosix can throw out the heal offensively to be able to keep his frontliners alive, specifically Beltway, that's just going to add up.
Goodness.
Oh, where did you go? Nosix just gets deleted.
I mean, that's some of the damage coming out of the ethereal stuff we saw right there. And, you know, Volkit's starting to get to a really scary stage. He's got a lot of penetration online with his boots and with that helm. And now he's starting to get up some levels. The meatball and the backfire combination is just doing so much damage.
Just caught out of position without the beads, without the Aegis Amulet. No possible chance for Nosix to truly survive. And with just that one kill, Black Dragons, no hesitation, gets the Portal Demon, adds 750 gold to their pocket, extending that lead to about 5,000 gold now.
The Black Dragons, I have to say, personally, are really impressing me. I didn't think they'd come out firing as strong as they have. And, you know, ISURUS, they were really impressive in their match against Valor's team, but Black Dragons showing improvement even just from game 1.
Despite ISURUS finding a 3-0 clean sweep against Valor's, Black Dragons doesn't let that deter them after losing game number 1. They're still really focused on the second game. They're just made the necessary adjustments in the draft, being able to really recognize the weaknesses of ISURUS and exploit it.
Look at this, the split push coming through from Fragger. He's picked up the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side, gets some minions under the tier 2 tower, and now he's going to go home and farm some of the jungle, just trying to make up some of this golden experience gap between them and the Black Dragons. Forces
the Kliz to defend that tier 2 tower. Does have teleport, but strips away the red buff. Can't really pick it up, though, because he is sitting on that purple buff, but instead grabbing the Oracle. So denying that red buff away from the members of ISURUS, or the members of Black Dragons, is so important. You know, a Vulcan without a red buff, as well as a Kernanos, that's going to be a heavy team fight advantage for the side of ISURUS.
Looking, though, at Black Dragons, they're really kind of willing to take these poke battles with ISURUS because they're starting to build a lot of anti-heal. We see a Pestilence on PB, we're seeing a Brawler's Beatstick on O-Ship as well, so they're willing to kind of like trade back and forth with these poke because the heal from Rala isn't doing as much as it usually does.
Not quite yet. You know, sitting level 14, still working on that E-Staff, doesn't have the Rod of Asclepius online. Black Dragons has just been getting able to force the issue around these team fights. It's not looking too pretty for ISURUS quite yet.
Well, now that Black Dragons have been forced over to this left-hand side, we can see Beltway. It's his turn to split push over on the right-hand side.
Trying to find a tier 1, but the tier 2 is getting heavily pressured. The teleport coming from Beltway. Osiris trying to get some pot shots through the wall along with Nan's meatballs. Turret's going to be able to control a little bit of space, and that's going to allow the rest of Black Dragons to use that turret to sit behind it. And if the Gold Fury respawns, they're going to start up the Gold Fury, and if that turret's going to start taking damage and gets eliminated, that's when Black Dragon knows ISURUS is coming around the corner.
Gold Fury has respawned. Black Dragons took the last one. They're going to be looking to take this one yet again. As Isurus already under 50% HP. Around the back comes Daylon, though, trying to secure this Gold Fury or steal it away. Isurus do actually manage to steal it away from the Black Dragons. Here comes the Earthshaker ultimate. No damage there from Nan.
Daylon, though, gets hit quite a little bit. He's caught an awkward spot. His jump was on cooldown Beltway, forced to go into the defense of Eagles Rally, but Isurus stealing that away from Black Dragons is so important to prevent them from snowballing out of control.
It does cost the life of Daylon, and so it's going to cost him his tier 2 tower here, which is going to give Black Dragons the same amount of gold that Gold Fury would have anyway. As you said, though, it just does slow down the snowball a little bit, but still, losing that tier 2 tower is a huge loss for Isurus.
Well, Isurus, they get a little bit more gold than the tier 2 tower, but not only that, they also have a tier 2 tower on the left that they could potentially look to siege down. The only disadvantage here for Isurus is that it's exposed their left side Phoenix, so if there's just too many members down, that could allow Black Dragons to get one of the most important Phoenixes in the game, which is that dual lane, because of the fact that it's just the opposite side of the Fire Giant, making it more impactful when fire minions are flooding down that left-hand side. If you defend it, then you can't really defend the left side and the Fire Giant as well.
Last game we saw a lot of synergy between SMITE and Nozix, and this game I don't think we're just kind of we're seeing them, and this is kind of a microcosm of Isurus' performance this game as a whole. We've seen them both being very reactive to what Black Dragons have been doing, rather than trying to make any opportunities of their own.
Well, to be fair though, between Raw and Hunbats, that's a very strong counter-engage composition. You have the Fear No Evil, which can heavily dissect a team fight into two different places. You have Nozix's Raw that has the long-range artillery snipes, as well as that sustain to be able to keep members alive. So as long as Black Dragons get caught in an awkward position, you throw out the Fear No Evil and you focus that one target that's just separated from his teammates.
Looking back towards the map now, a lot of objectives taken down. Portal Demon is going to be respawning soon, and I really liked how Black Dragon's been playing around these neutral objectives in these games.
You know, compared to the last game, it's been a lot slower. The last game, this time it's been turning at a much quicker succession. Black Dragons at 8-1 advantage. Not too much to write home about, with about almost a 5,000 gold lead. But like you mentioned before, these objectives have just been on point for them, and it's up to Isurus to really stop any further ones to be completed by the Brazilian squad.
All right, Portal Demon is going to be respawning here in just a few seconds. Fire Giant is up as well, although I think it'll take a lot for Black Dragons to consider going for that one. But now, Portal Demon is going to be started up here by Marcel's.
Trying to find the damage. They have the Vulcan. It's doing a lot of damage to Kurnos. Daylon jumping on in, forcing out the reset from the Portal Demon, jumping away into safety, but Oship is chasing through the jet stream.
Oh no, SMITE taken low. The Typhoon's going to come out. Only knocks up Daylon, however. Terra's blessing through as well for the side of Black Dragons, and now they're looking for the re-engage. Daylon in a lot of trouble. He's just barely able to jump away, but the Earthshaker comes through. Nozix takes a lot of damage. Wild Hunt only does the damage, but doesn't turn anyone into a piggy.
No, but it forces out the beats out of Fragger. That's going to allow Black Dragons to secure this Portal Demon, and because SMITE was poked out so heavily, despite not finding the kill for Black Dragons, that's technically just as effective, because SMITE had to back, and without a Hunbats in the team fight, you don't really have to worry about a lot of incoming damage against Isurus.
And Nozix was just pressured away as well, so heavily. He didn't even get a chance to throw out his ultimate, and his heals, you know, he still doesn't have that Rod of the Sclew because he's not... The sustain isn't enough out of this Ra to make up for the damage that's coming through from Black Dragons. Especially
considering he's going into that Obsidian Shard. Daylon getting knocked up, the backfire, forced to jump away, getting dove by Kliz. The Lord of the Afterlife goes into full effect. SMITE, though, he's trying to get some return damage.
Fear No Evil comes out, only knocks Kliz into a wall there, so not a whole lot of damage coming out of the side of Isurus. And Black Dragons, they're more than happy to take these poke trades because they've got a portal. They can come back in.
Yeah, but look at this. Beltway stops the back out of Kliz. Very important. Doesn't chase it down any further than that. Very wise decision, still having a health disadvantage, but Nozix gets the clear in the mid-wave, really trying to finish off this Obsidian Shard for the damage. Nice little blink play from Oshep, trying to dive into the tier 2 mid-tower. Nozix trying to sustain under his own tower. Didn't have the relics available, even if he wanted to use it.
I don't know if you saw there, but Kliz just at the last second managed to get through the portal before it closed behind him. So that's actually a bit of an advantage now for Black Dragons. They've got their solo laner here. Daylon taking some damage, just jumps away from the knock-up out of Nan. Oship taking a lot of damage as well. There's the Earthshaker, but SMITE is going to pick up Oship.
Really aggressive was the Susanoo player. SMITE finding the right primary pick, but jumping in is Daylon, getting knocked up, turned into a board. The snipe, though, connecting onto Marcel's, but he doesn't even worry about it. He finds the support instead.
Great work there from the Black Dragons, trading out 1-for-1, but it does go a little bit in favor there of ISURUS as they only trade out their support for a very fed jungler.
Absolutely. That's a 30-second respawn timer for Oship on the Susanoo. Now, to be fair, he'll get back into the Fire Giant side relatively quickly with his abilities and the passive to augment that. But Dalen's going to have a little bit of a more difficult time. He went for the Shoes of Focus, which means he doesn't have that increased movement speed when he's out of combat with the Traveler Shoes.
We saw that last game from him as well when he was on that Terror. He got those cooldown boots just to be getting his abilities out there a little bit more. You know, with Terror, it's a little bit more understandable because you want to get that Monolith out there for the heal and, you know, the amount of CC you can get out of it. With a Fafnir, though, because you're basically, when you go in, you are full committed. You're diving in there and then you're looking to transform and just be in the middle of a team fight. With those Shoes of Focus, it's a lot harder to do that and stay alive.
Absolutely, but don't forget that the 10% cooldown reduction that Shoes of Focus provides you could mean the difference between having your jump to escape after you already re-engage or not. Now, the Coerce spamming abilities is going to help him sustain a little bit longer with that health boost, being able to augment the attack speed out of Fragger, which is why he has such a heavily aggressive build going into Transcendence, trying to finish off that chin size after the Executioner. About to hit level 20 is both of these hunters, but more mobility on the side of Marcel is having the Fatalis and the speed buff for now.
Oship wraps around behind, he finds Nozzix, who's actually forced into the Aegis. Here comes the knockup, but the beads are good from Nozzix, but the damage is better from the side of Black Dragons. PB credited with that kill, but it was a three-way effort between him, Oship, and Marcel.
Just a little too early on the Aegis Amulet. I like the idea of using that Purification Beads as soon as Oship hard committed under that middle lane side, but without that Aegis Amulet, there was just no real peels to save out Nozzix.
And it's going to really impact ISURUS' ability to contest this Fire Giant. Black Dragons, so they're finding Dalon here. Dalon taking a lot of damage. SMITE comes around from behind. He's looking for Nan. Fino evil onto the Vulcan, but the Aegis and beads are good from the mid lane Vulcan. Dalon forced to jump away as well. And Black Dragons, they're getting everything they want in this team fight. They're forcing ISURUS away from this objective.
Eagles Rally trying to chase out Clears. The Root is going to find his mark. Stun's going to prevent the bludgeon, or rather that he's going to get bludgeoned into the graveyard. Marcel's credited with that one. Oship is still in the mid lane. Nozzix finding the respawn, but Beltway still dead for 45 seconds. However, when he does respawn, he will have that teleport.
SMITE going to take his speed buff here. Ship's going to contest it actually and take it away from him. Fire Giant not really being looked at too heavily from the side of Black Dragons. They're heading back towards that one now, but I'm worried just given the low health and mana on Oship whether this could potentially be disastrous for him if ISURUS can find anything.
It could very well be with Nozzix right around the corner. Nan does have his ultimate to be able to confirm and deal with the damage out of Nozzix, but Oship's doing a good job thus far trying to get this Raw back out of the game.
No relics for Nozzix, no life left for him either as Oship picks up another kill onto the mid lane Ra. In jumps SMITE, Fear No Evil, but Earthshaker is good from Nan, but Fragger gets the Desert Fury through the wall. SMITE still alive, not for long though, as Marcel's is going to claim that kill. Cliz taking a lot of damage, but the Thorns is going to do work. Fragger's got himself a double here. He's going to look for Oship. He jumps on the spot, knocks up Marcel's, and Beltway with a great disarm as well. Marcel's forced away.
Terror's Blessing from PB. Eagles Rally being used on the tier 1 tower. Thorns being procced, and with the Monolith being used, afraid of getting rooted under the tier 1 tower. Beltway backs off for a little bit longer. The rest of his teammates, though, trying to get that Portal Demon. Marcel still doing a good job zoning out that enemy hunter. Stun onto Beltway. Fatalis is working in full effect, taking out Beltway.
Now the Portal Demon's being contested. Wild Hunt comes through as well, but the Portal Demon is secured by ISURUS. Fragger trying to fight 1v2 here. He is a level 20 on her. Marcel's dashing in with that Horn Charge. Here comes P-Bay. No root coming out. Actually, he forces the beads out of Fragger, so the stun is good, and the kill is good as well. Marcel's is unstoppable.
Just left high and dry. Fragger nowhere to go in that situation. The stun from P-Bay just working wonders, allowing this very highly mobile hunter out of Marcel's playing the Kernanos to really catch up to this on her.
Now the Fire Giant's been started up here by the side of Black Dragons. ISURUS do at the Portal Demon, but they can't all rush through that one. There's a lot of damage here on the side of Black Dragons. Oship, he's just he's pressing the W key straight towards Nozzix, and he can't do anything. It's only Dalon here to try and contest his Fire Giant, but how much can a Fafnir really do?
Not too much. SMITE does go through the wall. He has the Fear No Evil potentially used there, with the knockup coming in from the Fire Giant being used. There's also the Typhoon knocking up two in its place. Marcel's finding his 8th kill of the game.
Dalon in that Draconic form forced to jump away. Snipe comes through from Nozix, but it doesn't land onto a target, or at least not one that he can do much damage to. Fire Giant is going to fall. Black Dragons with the advantage. Daylon hanging around here needs to be careful.
First Fire Giant of the game for Black Dragons. He gets stunned. Nowhere to go. Marcel's with his 9th one, nearing that double-digit marker. 17-4. Black Dragons, they have almost an 8,000 goal lead, and it's going to overcome that once they get this tier 2 on the right-hand side.
Huge gold, huge experience advantage for Black Dragons. It's only going to extend even further. Fire Giant buff is going to give them the lane pressure advantage as well when they look for these structures. Looks like they're not even going to go for this mid-tier 2 at this stage. They're going to look to pressure down this Phoenix.
SMITE and Daylon are still dead for another 10 seconds. 5-on-3. Right-hand side, not wanting to contest this. Fragger, Beltway, Nasex just going to let this one go with the Fire Giant squad out of Black Dragons.
And look at the damage coming through with the penetration out of O-Ship, and just Marcel's doing so much damage with this Kernanos, and you know, his Shifter of Seasons gives him extra damage on his basic attacks when he's in, I believe it's the summer stance, and that's great for shredding objectives.
Absolutely. You know, whether you want to get the damage, the penetration, the lifesteal, or the slow, the utility is all there for the Kernanos as a Hunter player. So you're going for more of this kind of damage-oriented style and build. If you're looking at Marcel's, take note, because that's a good Hunter build.
For me, it's really funny that the slow is probably the Shifter of Seasons stats that's used the least.
Well, the thing is, it just depends on the situation. You have the Fatalis, right? So you could look to use the slow. Like, if you're full health, you don't need the lifesteal, right?
Yeah.
If the enemy's just running away from you, and you have Fatalis, you might as well just keep them in your sights with the slow to be able to allow everyone else to really catch up to you. So you can even use that slow on a potential Guardian that might have overstepped his boundaries, use this escape to initiate for whatever reason. You go into that winter stance for him, and there's just no escape.
Mid-tier 2 tower is going to fall the way of the Black Dragons, and now it looks like they're pushing towards this middle Phoenix here. They will have a fair bit of golden hand, so they might not have a big of an advantage over ISURUS as they might think, but still, you know, when they're sitting around 10,000 gold in front, they're definitely in the lead.
And despite the offensive items from O-Ship, the defensive options are still there. You're looking at the Magai's Blessing out of the Susanoo jungler here, just to be able to get out of dodge in case SMITE initiates aggressively with that Blink Fear No Evil.
O-Ship's pushing up this left-hand side pretty much by himself, and that's going to allow the rest of his team to sit in this mid lane and keep pressuring it forward. And, you know, honestly, he can sit over in this left-hand side and just keep a member of ISURUS over in that direction. But now it looks like the fight is starting here. Daylon already half HP, forced to jump back underneath his Phoenix. The Phoenix taken under 50% HP, but that's a good disarm from Beltway.
Kliz, though, takes a little bit of damage in return, still having the Fire Giant buff of his own. O-Ship still looking for potential flank on the left-hand side, still pushing out minions, keeping everybody distracted. Beltway is forced to deal with that issue.
SMITE jumps in there, Fear No Evil, the Desert Fury used by Fragger, but it's all onto a very tank AP bay. Wild Hunt comes through, Earthshaker ultimate doesn't land, but the middle Phoenix is still taking damage. In some trouble now with SMITE. He's getting chased down. O-Ship is going to claim the life of his enemy jungler.
And mid Phoenix finally taking a spill, getting pulled into danger is Fragger, getting taken out by Marcel's with a Fatalis. Kernanos, the Titan, is taking a lot of damage, and just like that, Black Dragons tie it up. We're going to game 3.
Excellent work there from Black.